Hey, I am popping on, guys, because just had a full morning of talking with new students and potential students for the Sound Embrace Sound Healing Certification Program. And so I just want to answer a few questions that come up. So one of the first questions that I always get is, how did I get into sound healing? And, a little bit about my background. My dad was in the Army. We moved, every 2 to 3 years. With this upbringing, it was a little bit more of, you go to the doctor, you do what you're told, and you kind of just, you're seen and not heard kind of thing, right? So now let's fast forward. My first career, I went to school for commercial photography in Atlanta, and then took that degree out into San Francisco, where I was for about 11 years, and was pursuing commercial photography. But then when I turned 28, I became not my normal sick. And for me, this meant I was losing my hair. I was losing the enamel on my teeth. I had all of these chronic symptoms like chronic migraines and skin issues, and just, all of my life, I had been on again and off again sick, but this was not my normal sick. So, I went to the doctor, sat on the doctor bed in the like gown. And the doctor comes in and he says, well, Ms. Hall, if we don't find out what's going on with you, you're going down a really dark road. And then put my chart down and walked out of the room. And I think with everyone, there's like this catalyst moment, right? There's this catalyst moment that shakes us just enough to begin to see a different perspective on either how we are participating in our life, or we are going to be okay dealing with or not dealing with. And, I went home with this prescription and was just, this was that shake up moment for me. I'm sitting there at home before my boyfriend at the time had come home, and I'm crying. And I am just cursing at the universe and cursing at God, and was just like, I'm going to be 28 years old, bald, toothless. Like, that's a good look. And just like feeling really sorry for myself. And so, at the end of, if you felt this too at some point in your life, you have that ugly cry. And then I sat there, and I just felt like this, vibration in my body, this kind of cathartic, like a little shake in my body. And I had this moment where it was like, it's not like a voice that just is like, coming out of nowhere, that's like, telling you what to do. But it was this knowing sense that came in. And it was like, you're going to be fine, be open. This knowing sense dropped in, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm about to be bald and toothless at 28 years old, like, what am I going to be? Who's going to want me? Who's going to love me? How am I going to be doing my work when I can't concentrate? How am I going to be able to get through the day without the flagellance that I was experiencing, and the debilitating migraines, and the bloating, and this, like, all of these things? My body was deteriorating. My body was not working. And so I just kind of took that, put it in the back of my mind. And then the next day I found this like naturopathic doctor came into my awareness. And so I went to her only because she had doctor in the name, Dr. Alma. We just called her by her first name, Alma. And I went in and sat down with her. And this was in the Marina District. Trekked all the way over there. I was annoyed about parking. I was annoyed about everything at that point in my life. I was like mad about everything. And we sat down, and she had warned me ahead of time that like appointments could take up to 3 hours. And I was like, fucking 3 hours? What is this? What is this bullshit? I don't know what I'm getting into. And so anyways, I'm sitting there and, she's asking me what's going on. And she's asking me, what are my symptoms? And, kind of the same questions that regular doctors were asking me. Then she asks me, well, what are you eating? What's your food like? What food are you consuming? And I'm like, why is this important? I didn't know. Didn't know. And so now I'm getting annoyed because I feel like she's asking me questions that are stupid. And then she asks me, about the work that I was doing at the time, which was commercial photography. And I was, assisting a lot and like trying to make it in the commercial photography world and the marketing world. And again, I'm getting really annoyed. Like, what does this have to do with my health? What does this have to do with me losing my hair? What does this have to do with me losing the enamel on my teeth? And I'm starting to get worked up. And then she's like, well, what are your relationships like? And she's asking me about my boyfriend. She was asking me about my friendships, and she's asking me about my extracurricular activities. Like, am I going out and experiencing fun things? And what do I like to do for fun? And she's asking me all these questions. And then finally, I just break down. And even thinking about it now, I'm like getting emotional about it. But I didn't understand. Like how all of these things came together to, had anything to do with my health. And then, she saw that I was like visibly getting upset and that I was, getting really frustrated. And she's like, honey, all of these things contribute to the overall picture of your health. And if we don't get down to the bottom of which of these buckets are influencing your body in responding in this way, then yeah, you're gonna be going down a dark road like that doctor told you. And so, I was there for the full 3 hours. I think we actually went over. She did some blood work, she did some other things, and then she was like, I really think that your challenges are food related, and we're gonna put you on what's called the elimination diet. And so for the next month, it was probably the hardest thing I had done up until that point where, I completely changed my diet, got rid of all allergens in my diet. I don't know what this hair is doing. It's bothering me. But I got rid of all allergens, all potential allergens from my diet for a month, which was extremely hard as a freelancer in the photography world. You're going from set to set. You're, waking up early, staying up late. You're part of a production team. So anyway, I get through that month, and then she guides me into, what is the question she asked me is, what is the thing that you're missing? What is the food that you are missing the most? And I was like, man, I really want a sandwich. I really missed a sandwich. Of all things, at that time, I really wanted a sandwich. So she was like, all right, so go and have a sandwich. So I have this sandwich, and within 15 minutes, I started bloating, I got the migraine, I got the brain fog, I got all of the symptoms. And I call her, and I am like, WTF, Alma, what is going on with me? And she was laughing. She started laughing, and she's like, honey, we know what it is. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I am miserable right now. And I could feel the headache, the low grade headache just like start to set in my brow. And she was like, it's gluten, honey. And I'm like, what the fuck is gluten? And so now I'm like pissed. I'm feeling horrible. I'm finding out that I can't have bread. I don't even know what gluten is at that, at that time. Anyway, so then the week after that was dairy. Find out that I have a slight dairy allergy. Certain things I'm okay with, certain things I'm not. And then we went through different meats and nightshades and then how my body responded to sugar. So when people ask me how I got into sound healing, that is the first, that was the catalyst. that was that like kind of life-shaking moment that my health was in despair. I was backed up in a corner, and I had to make a choice to be open to new information. I had to be open to other forms of knowledge and information that might be able to be helpful, that was not the traditional medical system. Now, granted, like, these things worked together for my overall health once I knew that it was gluten. But so now, I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to go through this phase now of learning what is gluten, how to change my lifestyle so that I don't accidentally eat gluten. I had to learn like the new questions to ask. I had to learn what the heck gluten was. And so now my physical body started to heal. The migraines went away. The skin issues went away. The chronic constipation went away. The chronic skin issues went away. The brain fog went away. When I tell you, it was like I was given a second chance at life. I was given a second chance at life. My body, began to work as it was supposed to, because we found out what the thing was that my body couldn't handle, which was the gluten. And now we could go into debate, it's not the gluten, it's the pesticides, it's not the gluten, it's like the whatever. Okay, it's gluten. Let's just keep that for the story. So now I'm sitting there, I'm healing, I'm physically healing. But now I'm faced with the mental and emotional layers of healing that come from a body that wasn't working, and coming face to face with myself with a lot of the decisions I made based on a body that didn't work. So before I get into that, I think that'll be a different video. But the next thing that happened was I got really, really angry. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling like I have this second chance at life. And now I just have so much anger. That, like, how could my parents not know? How could I not know? Why did it take 28 years to find out that this was the issue, right? And I'm blaming all of these people outside of myself. I'm blaming everybody that I possibly could. The government, the teachers, the food system, I'm blaming everybody. And then finally it was like, wow, I am an adult. I'm a fucking adult. And I am personally responsible for the role that I play in my life. And I, an adult, was not open for my adult life to other forms of thinking. I wasn't curious of other ways of being and doing. I wasn't curious of why this was happening. I had just accepted the cards that I was dealt. I just accepted the cards that I was dealt in life. And, while there was a period of time where, for that period of time, that was what got me through, when we're really in a space of acceptance of something, we have a different way of tolerating, right? But I was not curious. And I was not taking personal ownership of the role that I played in my own life. So now I started to ask a new question. I started to ask a question where I was not asking questions before. I asked myself, well, if I wasn't open to how food affected my body, what else am I not open to? And so, I put on my photojournalism hat, and I'm like, all right, let me go interview. Let me go experience. Let me go ask questions. Let me go be curious to some of these other things that I'm really point blank shitting on. So I went to my first yoga class and realized, oh, well, I'm going into these yoga class. I did not go into yoga because I thought you had to be tall, blonde, and bendy and thin. And I'm 5 feet tall, brunette, and at the time, definitely not thin. You know, I had all of this inflammation and then, so I didn't see myself in that space. So granted, like, hold on to that point. Then it was going into massage, my very first massage. I think it was 29. And I was realizing during the massage that, oh, I have this internal dialogue that, or, you know, this perspective that, or belief system that you have to have disposable income to get a massage, that you have to be rich. I don't know where that even came from, right? That I had to be rich to get a massage. And then I went into, you know, like there was like acupuncture and like Reiki and crystal therapy. And, you know, I'm like looking at what are all of these dialogues that I am having to myself, about myself, consciously or unconsciously, like really becoming curious why I had the belief in the first place. So I'm faced with all these things and I'm just like having this like moment of like not knowing myself anymore. And then there was this opportunity to go to a sound bath that was free 99. Free 99 sound bath. And so I went to it and I'm wearing my Nike lifts and my skinny jeans and my Giants baseball hat at the time. And, you know, I got to support the Giants. And I was dating somebody at the time who was like a big Giants fan. And so, granted, I'm doing all of these things by myself. The person that I was even dating wasn't open to these things really. So, you know, I go into, and that's a lot of us, right? Like we go into these awakening periods and we got to have the guts. We got to have the courage to do some of these things on our own because we don't yet have the community around the conversation. Or we don't have that friend group. We don't have, you know, we're feeling some kind of way about the thing ourselves. We're already judging the thing before we even go to it, right? Like, and then we have our friend group that may not be open to those things or to that conversation. So that's what I was doing. I was doing all these things by myself. And, so I go into the sound bath. It was free. That's why I went. And I'm like, cool. I've got my photojournalism hat on to all of these other things. Let's go into this weird ass thing called a sound bath. So I go into this sound bath. And when I say I was judgy, I was like, I didn't realize how unhappy of a person I was. I did not realize like how I thought I was a nice person. I thought I was a good person until I started to really look at some of these belief systems and how much I judged people and judged these things without any curiosity or without any experience of the thing. So then I go to this sound bath and like, you know, it's embarrassing sometimes to share this story because it's not how I saw myself at that time, and like to see where I am now, you know, and how I think about these things now. So much more grace, so much more compassion. But so I go into this sound bath. And at that time, you know, it was the most woo thing I had ever done. It was the most woo. If we're going to call it the woo, I was calling that woo. I don't think sound healing is woo anymore, but, cause there's at least the way that I go about it, it's more about the science of sound, but I digress. Let me get into the story. So I show up, I go up these stairs and I'm like, oh man, you know, it's like you already know, you smell the bad patchouli. Guys, like there's good patchouli and there's bad patchouli. Okay, this was bad patchouli. You got to get the good patchouli. The good patchouli smells good. If you know, you know. But if you got this far in this video, I want to hear in the comments about the good patchouli, because if it's good, it's good. Anyways, so I get up these stairs and I'm already greeted by this waft of scent. It smells like armpit. And so like I get up there and I walk into this room and I'm looking around, and there are crystals, and there's some instruments that I've never seen, and there's a Buddha, there's a Jesus, there's a Kuan Yin. I didn't know what Kuan Yin was at this time. There's sacred geometry, there's tie-dye. It was the whole like coexist bumper sticker had exploded all over this room, okay? I'm just like, I don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't understand. So then I'm greeted by this gentleman who, you know, white guy with dreads, drop crotch pants, no shoes. He's not wearing a shirt. He's wearing this like vest. His nipples are out. And I'm just like, hi, hi. And he puts his arm out and he's like, hey, he's like doing this big like arm thing. Hey, welcome. So I'm already judging hard. And he's like, you're gonna go down there, you're gonna take off your shoes, and you're gonna go in the other room and you're gonna lay down. And I'm like, okay. So I go in the room, I go down the way, I take off my shoes, I take off my hat, I go around the corner, and I just see all of these people, with glitter and feathers and fur, and everybody's barefoot, and there's some interesting BOs that are mixing with the bad patchouli, and there's like cuddle puddles. I didn't know what that was at the time. And then like people like a massage circle train situation. And I am about to have a panic attack. And I turn around. I'm going to leave. I'm like, I don't know what I just walked into. This looks like some kind of weird orgy. I don't know. I don't know. I was freaking out. So I start walking out. The guy who greeted me in the beginning, he's like, hey, where are you going? And I was like, and when he says that, now everybody's looking at me. There's probably like 40 people in this room. And now they're all looking at me and I'm like, oh yeah. Like y'all look full. I see people brought blankets and pillows and things. Like I didn't know that from your website. I didn't know that from your description. And so, I'll just come back another time. I'll come back early. I'll come back prepared. And, especially at that time, I needed the details. I really needed the details so that I could be prepared. Y'all, I needed the details to feel safe. I was a little OCD too at that time. So, but that comes from a body that wasn't working, right? If my body didn't work, like I tried to control all of the other things outside of myself because everything here I could not control it. And so anyway, I digress on that. So, I'm about to leave and, I'm saying this, and then there were a couple people in the middle of this cuddle puddle massage, whatever that was. It was non-sexual. It was just like something I'd never seen before. And these two guys were like, hey, you can lay down between us. So I'm tiptoeing now because of, this peer pressure now. Everybody's looking at me. And I'm tiptoeing through the cuddle puddle and the BO and the fur and just kind of like doing this thing. And I'm very insecure at that time. Very body conscious again. I'm just coming out of this coming into my healing, out of my healing physically, because my body wasn't working. I had a lot of self-loathing and really negative self-talk, really bad body image conversations in my head. I hated my body. It was not a safe place to be. I did not want to be here. And so now I have to go in this room and, for this sound bath and to, sit down between these two guys and touch naked elbows. Like that was a lot for my brain. It was a lot for my internal story, my narrative, and the PTSD that I've experienced with my body. And so I'm sitting there, I'm hugging my knees, and, I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm trying to be open. And then they turn off the lights. People lay down. I freak out. This was the last straw. I start yelling. I mean, I don't know what this is. I don't know what any of these instruments are. I've never done this before. Nobody said what this is about, what I'm going to be doing. What do I need to do? And then the same guy, I totally had this freak out moment. And with all these people. And the guy on the stage, the same guy that, it wasn't really a stage. It was just like, the people in front of the room who were going to facilitate. If you could call it facilitation. But that's another story too. I have opinions. But so then, that same guy that greeted me, the same guy that, got me back to stay in that sound bath, he was like, "You're gonna be fine. Be open." And really, this was like about a year after all of that with the emergency room. You're gonna be fine. Be open. That shook me enough in that moment to be like, okay, I recalled that I had felt that knowing, heard that knowing about a year prior when I was going into this health fiasco. And so I was like, okay, it brought me back to center. I laid down. I was probably the stiffest person there. And there was a point where I remember that I was able to relax my body. And then the experience went black. There was just like, darkness, not in a bad way, just like it was dark. And I felt myself relax, and I felt myself having this moment where I was not Danielle. I was not Danielle with the broken body, not Danielle who had a gluten allergy, not Danielle the daughter or the photographer or the girlfriend or the sister, not Danielle XYZ, like all of the labels that I put on myself or expectations that I had adopted from other people. I had this experience where I was not the labels or even, male, female. I was not my sex. And then, now this is not a typical experience, guys. I'm going to share this, but it's not a typical experience. It can happen, but it's not a typical experience. And with a trained sound practitioner, you could see these signs in the body before something like this happens, to know how to either stop that or to, guide somebody through this in a very gentle way. So I want to preface with that. But all of a sudden, I started shaking. And, I don't have epilepsy. I don't have, seizures. I started shaking, and then I started crying. I started crying uncontrollably. And I then started crying so hard that I then had these guttural sobs come from me. This did end up ending the sound bath. And, those same people that I judged were there to help me. Now, granted, it freaked me out a little bit because what they did was they circled me. They got all around me. There's somebody who had their hand on my back and just applied some pressure. And then, the people just got in a circle and they started toning Ma. And, for somebody who's not in this space ever before, that freaking freaked me out. I thought that I was just now being inducted into some cult. I never experienced anything like this before. Again, no explanation, no nothing. But it was, now that I know what I know now, that was exactly what needed to happen. There could have been other protocols in place for a lot of these things. This is why I teach what I teach in my certification program, because a lot of these things, anyway, You could tell that I have a lot to say about that. But so I had this experience and I'm sobbing and I'm sobbing and I'm so angry. I'm like, all of this anger is coming up, and like, then with the toning exercise that they were doing, it was helping to calm my nervous system after I got over the initial shock of what was happening. And then, I'm like, cried until I had no more tears left to cry. Ugly cry, snot, they were getting me tissues, they were getting me water. Those same people I was judging hardcore were there to help me. So a lot of them left at a certain point, and then finally my first words to the group leader was, what the fuck happened to me? That was what I said. What the fuck happened to me? And so, then the same guy, was like, I think this is stuck emotions, but I'm going to this school and I'm just now learning about these things. And I was just like, what? You don't even know what you're doing? So now I'm like pissed off even more. Find out it's a school. I come back the next day, I'm all puffy, and like I'm even more angry because this puff and this bloat is what I had experienced, pretty much from, my early teens on. And now I'm experiencing that all again. And I'm like, I'm not going back there. I'm not going to go back to that body, So I show up and I talk to that teacher. I talk to the owner of the school. And, he's breaking down what stuck emotions are. He's breaking down some of the things that happened. And I was like, okay, when does this next cohort start? I need to learn more about this. I need to know why I lost control over my body. I need to understand this, because at that time, now I'm a blubbering baby. Like, I will cry. I have no problems tearing up and crying and just, showing emotion. But at that point in my life, like, to show too much emotion meant that I was losing control, and I was trying everything I could to be in control because I could not control my physical body. And so at that point in time, when I had that experience, I was like, this is not normal for me. This is not safe for me. I don't want this to happen to me again. So, he was like, we already started the program. We're already 2 weeks in, but you could come the next time. And I was like, no. I took out my credit card. I was like, sign me up right now. I will catch up. You don't know me. I will catch up. And so that is what got me there. That is what got me to sign up for a sound healing course and to learn more about it. Not because I thought that I was going to help people with this, not because I was like, this is great for everybody and this is going to be good for, the world. I was not that conscious, okay? I was like, no, bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. Why did this happen to me? Why did I lose control? Why did I have these emotions? Why did I have these immense detox symptoms? Why? There was a lot of curiosity, a lot of questions again at that time, a lot of self-discovery. And so, it's probably a couple weeks, it was probably a month into the program that I finally was like, not finally, but I just had that epiphany, like, I need to do this for other people. I was having this deeper understanding of the practice. I learned what I needed to learn in that school. It was a very hippie school. I love my hippies now. Just don't get me wrong. I love my hippies. I was the only non-hippie in that school. And I needed that experience. I needed to be thrown into that. I needed that love and that compassion that community had, because I did not have that for myself. And I knew that was a big part of why this work is so helpful, but I needed to learn that for myself. And I needed other people that really just held that space completely. Now I am like, I need the science. I was very masculine, doing type A person, get my business, do the business, get the things done, check the things off the list, like move on to the next thing. To be around a group of people that was not their MO is enlightening for sure. Frustrating at times, but very enlightening to how I could be softer. I think that was like starting the start of that. But so, coming back to the beginning of this live, that is how I got into sound healing. It wasn't, it was because of my own health journey that led me one step in front of the other, one ugly cry after the next, and one WTF after another, and peeling back the layers of myself, trying to understand why I believed what I believed in the first place, and down to things that just were mundane things. Like, not ever thinking about how food affects your body. Like, that's a pretty big one. And so, to answer that first question that I get for every consultation call, that is how I got into it. Now, how things moved forward and progressed over the last 12 years of being in this industry, 14 in health and wellness. We can get it. We're going to get into other things. I'll share other things. But, when you are thinking, if you are considering, and two things, if you're here because you're considering, pursuing sound healing as a career, or maybe you're here because sound bath sessions are really helpful in your personal journey. So I'm going to speak to both of those. If you are here because you want to be a sound healing practitioner, you have to know that your personal story is what connects you to the people, the community that you are wanting to serve. And so if you still have wounds that you are working through, it doesn't mean that you can't do this work, but this work will force you to work through those wounds. There's a really beautiful quote, and I don't remember who said it, but speak from your scars, not from your wounds. And so if you are doing this work as a practitioner, and especially when you're coming through my program, you will be going through a healing process as well. Crystal Bowls, do not let you lie to yourself. This work does not let you lie to yourself, and if you are, you're in for it. And that's another story too. I have so many stories. But if you are here because sound healing, coming to sound bath sessions are supportive for you, the same message applies. The Crystal Bowls don't let you lie to yourself. It meets you exactly where you are and what you're holding mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have an experience that I had where an untrained sound practitioner, they were going through that course, but the course that I took doesn't actually teach what I teach in my program. And so, sound bath sessions meet you exactly where you are, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So if you have a goal, if you have something that you are wanting to shift and transform within your life, a sound bath session can support you in doing that. And not just one. It's like really, what I teach my students, 3, 6, 9, and 12, depending on the goal. What are we working towards? It's going to open you up to the role that you're playing in your own life so you could take that personal ownership back. A lot of times what we see is where we're giving our power away and where we are staying in victimhood, my friends. So I'm going to leave you with that. I would be so happy to guide you in either one of those paths, whether you are coming in as a sound healing practitioner or you are coming in for guidance in your own health and wellness journey. And especially if you're here in Alabama, where I've now called home, and I'm building my life here now, with the community here and the ease and the love that I experience here. It's phenomenal. And so anyways, if you are here in my immediate community, I would love to connect with you at one of my monthly sound bath sessions. I am sometimes in Atlanta, and then I do sometimes travel. So I'm going to end that here. If you have any questions at all, please put them in the comments below. If you are interested in a in-person sound bath session or my free membership where you can have access to 2-minute, 10-minute, and 30-minute sessions, that link is also in my bio or at soundembrace.com for that free membership. And if you are interested in the Sound Embrace Sound Healing Certification Program, you can sign up for a complimentary consultation call where we can either do a phone call or we can do a Zoom call. And that is free $99. Just get some info. Whether or not you sign up for my course, I will give you practical tools for you to begin your journey. And know that you're not alone. Mentorship, whether it is in starting this new career in sound healing or going down your health and wellness journey, mentorship is extremely helpful and can expedite the transformation that you're seeking to have in your life. I'm going to do some more of these and share more of the FAQs that I get. And I look forward to your questions in the comments below.